Light, birds chirping wrong song. Anna opened her eyes, ceiling different texture. Panic swelled in her chest. This wasn't her room. She sat up, heart pounding, the wallpaper, the furniture, the curtains, all wrong. Her room, her safe haven, had vanished, replaced by... What? She scrambled out of bed, her legs shaking. A wave of dizziness hit her. The air felt different, heavier, charged with something strange. Downstairs, her mom was making breakfast. "Morning, sleepyhead," she chirped, her voice too high, too cheerful. Anna froze. Her mom's hair was shorter, blonder. And was that a tattoo on her arm? "Mum?" Anna's voice came out a croak. Her mom turned, a puzzled frown on her face. "Is something wrong, dear?" The coffee cup slipped from Anna's hand, shattering on the floor. Her mom rushed over. "Anna, are you all right?" But her eyes were different, cold, unfamiliar. The television blared news about President Smith? Anna stared, dumbfounded. The president was a woman, a scientist she vaguely remembered seeing on a documentary about climate change. Then the news showed a map of Europe. The borders were different. Countries she'd known all her life were gone, replaced by names that meant nothing to her. A chill ran down her spine. This wasn't just a bad dream. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. "Where's Chloe?" Anna asked, her voice trembling. Chloe, her younger sister, should be here, arguing over breakfast, not absent. Her mom gave her a strange look. "Chloe, don't you remember, dear? You're an only child." Anna felt a surge of panic. This wasn't just a different world, it was a world where she never had a sister, a world built on a different history, a different reality. Her mind reeled. How was this possible? Had she gone mad? Was this some kind of elaborate prank? No, it was too real, too detailed, too terrifying. The doctor's diagnosis was swift and dismissive. "Stress," he said. "Exhaustion." He prescribed her some pills and told her to get some rest. Anna wanted to scream. She tried to explain, to make him understand that she was from a different universe, a different reality. But the words came out jumbled, incoherent. He patted her hand condescendingly. "These things happen, dear. Just take your medication, and you'll be right as rain." But Anna knew, she wasn't going crazy. This wasn't her world. Late at night, Anna stumbled upon an article online about quantum physics. She had always been curious about the mysteries of the universe, but this article seemed different. It promised to unravel the secrets of reality itself. It talked about parallel universes, alternate realities existing side by side with ours. Could that be it? The idea that there could be countless versions of herself living out different lives in different dimensions was both thrilling and terrifying. Had she somehow slipped through a crack in the fabric of reality? The thought sent shivers down her spine. She recalled moments when things felt off, like she was in a place that was almost but not quite right. The article mentioned a rare phenomenon called quantum entanglement, where two particles could become linked, even across vast distances. This connection was so strong that the state of one particle would instantly affect the state of the other, no matter how far apart they were. Was it possible that something had entangled her with her counterpart in this other universe, causing them to switch places? The more she thought about it, the more it made sense. She remembered reading about experiments where particles behaved in ways that defied logic. Was it possible that something had entangled her with her counterpart in this other universe, causing them to switch places? She felt a strange sensation, as if she was not entirely herself. It was as if she was looking at her reflection, but the person staring back was someone else. The idea of switching places with another version of herself was both fascinating and frightening. She wondered what her counterpart was experiencing in her place. Were they as confused and disoriented as she was? The more she read, the more plausible it seemed. The article was filled with scientific jargon and complex theories, but she was determined to understand. She spent hours poring over the text, trying to piece together the puzzle. But how could she prove it? How could she find evidence that she had crossed into another reality? She scribbled notes and brainstormed ideas, but nothing seemed concrete. The frustration was mounting and she felt like she was chasing shadows. How could she convince anyone that she was telling the truth? She imagined trying to explain her situation to friends or family. They would think she was crazy. The skepticism in their eyes would be unbearable. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that she was onto something extraordinary. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, each day blending into the next. Anna tried to adapt to this new reality, this life that felt both familiar and utterly alien. The bustling streets, the unfamiliar faces, everything was a constant reminder that she was far from home. But the memory of her own world, her own life, lingered, haunting her every waking moment. She often found herself staring out of windows, lost in thought, wondering if she would ever find a way back. One day, while browsing a used bookstore, she stumbled upon a book of poetry. The bookstore was quaint, filled with the scent of old paper and the quiet rustle of pages being turned. She opened it at random and her heart skipped a beat. The words on the page seemed to leap out at her, familiar yet distant. The words on the page were hers, her own handwriting, her own thoughts poured onto the page. Could it be? She felt a rush of emotions, a mix of disbelief and hope. Her own handwriting, her own thoughts poured onto the page. Could it be? She traced the lines with her fingers, feeling a strange connection to the words. Had her counterpart in this universe written the same poems, felt the same emotions? The idea was both comforting and unsettling. It meant that despite the vast differences between their worlds, there was something fundamentally the same. Was there still a connection between them, a bridge across the multiverse? Anna wondered if this was a sign, a glimmer of hope that she was not alone, that she could find her way back to her own world. The thought gave her strength, a renewed sense of purpose. Fueled by a renewed sense of hope, Anna started writing. She wrote everything she could remember about her world, her life, her family. She wrote about the different president, the different map of Europe, the missing sister. She poured all her fear, her confusion, her desperation onto the page. When she was finished, she left the notebook in the bookstore, tucked away behind the poetry book. A message in a bottle, cast out into the vast ocean of the multiverse. A desperate plea for someone, anyone, to believe her. Weeks later, a woman with blonde hair and a familiar tattoo walked into the bookstore. The bell above the door chimed softly, announcing her arrival. She paused for a moment, taking in the cozy atmosphere of the small independent bookstore. The scent of old paper and ink filled the air, mingling with the faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee from the cafe in the corner. She seemed to be searching for something, or perhaps someone, as her eyes scanned the room with a sense of purpose. Anna watched from across the street, her heart pounding in her chest. She had been waiting for this moment, hoping against hope that this woman would be the one to understand, the one to see the truth hidden within the pages of the notebook. She clutched her coat tightly around her, trying to steady her breathing as she observed the woman through the bookstore window. The woman picked up the poetry book, then hesitated, her eyes scanning the shelf. She seemed drawn to a particular section as if guided by an invisible hand. Her fingers brushed lightly over the spines of the books, pausing momentarily on each one before moving on. It was as if she was searching for a hidden message, a clue that would lead her to the truth. Her gaze fell on the notebook. It was an unassuming leather-bound journal, tucked away between two larger volumes. The cover was worn, the pages slightly yellowed with age. It looked like any other notebook, but Anna knew it was special. It held the key to her freedom, the answer to the question that had haunted her for so long. She picked it up, flipped it open, and started to read. Her eyes moved quickly over the pages, absorbing the words written in a delicate, flowing script. The further she read, the more her expression changed. It was subtle at first, a slight furrow of the brow, a tightening of the lips. But as she continued, the emotions became more pronounced. Confusion, curiosity, and something else, something deeper. Anna held her breath, her entire world hinging on the woman's reaction. She had poured her heart and soul into that notebook, hoping that someone would find it and understand. She had written about her experiences, her fears, and her dreams. She had described the strange, otherworldly events that had led her to this point, and the feeling of being trapped in a reality that wasn't her own. The woman's face remained impassive as she read. It was impossible to tell what she was thinking, whether she believed the words on the page or dismissed them as fiction. Anna's heart ached with the uncertainty, the not knowing. She wanted to run into the bookstore, to grab the woman by the shoulders and demand to know what she thought. But she stayed where she was, rooted to the spot by a mixture of fear and hope. After what felt like an eternity, she closed the notebook, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. Did she believe? Anna's mind raced with possibilities. Had the woman seen the truth? Had she understood the significance of the words? Or had she dismissed it all as a fanciful story, a work of fiction? The uncertainty was almost too much to bear. Had Anna finally found someone who understood, someone who could help her escape the confines of her current existence? The hope was almost painful in its intensity. She had been alone for so long, trapped in a world that felt increasingly alien and hostile. The possibility of finding an ally, someone who could see the truth and help her find a way out, was almost too much to hope for. The woman slipped the notebook into her bag and walked out of the bookstore, disappearing into the crowd. Anna watched her go, a mixture of hope and despair swirling in her chest. She wanted to follow her, to demand answers, but she knew she couldn't. She had to wait, to see if the woman would come back, if she would reach out and offer the help that Anna so desperately needed, leaving Anna alone once more, forever trapped in a reality that wasn't her own. Or was she? The question lingered in the air, unanswered. Anna stood there, feeling the weight of her isolation, the crushing loneliness of being misunderstood. But there was a glimmer of hope, a tiny spark that refused to be extinguished. Maybe, just maybe, she had found someone who could help her find her way back to the world.